Hello,
Hey, I'm Michael
folks.
Durinder,
And I'm Jake Bennett.
and this is episode 185 of the North Meet South web podcast. Joke.
Hey, everybody. It's been a long time. Glad to hear from you again, Michael. Glad to see you. Okay, we're going to talk about AI on this episode. But before we do, can I tell you one thing that AI is not good at?
Tell me.
It is not good at helping you debug three-way switches in your house. Do you know what a three-way switch is?
Like where? Yeah. Yes.
Do you know what
Where
this
you've got
is?
like
Where you have
multiple switches that all control the same.
that control
light,
the
whatever.
same thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I do not consider myself an expert in this, but I'm also no slouch. Like, I've done this a number of times before, right? Got all the tools, got all the stuff. I've done this. But the thing that I do not have, and I'm not even like doing this for the first time. Like I put in the switches that previously controlled this. So I know which things went where. I know. However, the stupid switches that I got don't have the common screw labeled. So it's like kind of a guess as to what one it is. And so it's been extremely frustrating. I've spent probably 40 minutes on it so far tonight, running back and forth from the switch panel to this. So I'm just
no good.
But
Electrical.
let me tell you,
This is where you and I differ. See, electrical work.
you get a Sparkie over here.
I get a Sparkie. Yeah. I had one in here the other day. We're redoing. I want to say redoing our laundry. We are doing our laundry because we've never had any cupboards or storage or bench or anything in there. It was very much when the house was built. It was what I have called a bachelor's laundry, in that it had like a tub. It's got a washing machine and just like the cheapest, nastiest cupboard that I could afford when I built the house.
Sounds like ours. Yep.
And that's it. So at the moment we've just I got the text message this morning saying that we'll get the all of the cabinetry delivered on the 10th of February, and then they will be installing everything on the 11th. So we're getting like benches and like a new sink and storage and all kinds of stuff in there, which is wonderful. But I had a Sparkie here yesterday, and I said I want 3 PowerPoints, and you know that's it. I'm not touching. That's not for me.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm gonna figure it out, and then I'll let you know. So I think I think I've got it. I've got the the voltage testers out, and like I thought I had it. I thought I had it figured out, and chat was helping me, and then it just kind of the wheels came off, and so I'm so frustrated with this stupid thing. So
you've gone too far. You have to start a new chat.
The thing is, it learned from like something that I did the other day. Like I also had a switched set of outlets, which is like where you have these outlets where the top one is always powered, but the bottom one is dependent on a switch on the wall. Right. And that was not working from the last time I installed this like 3 years ago. And so I was like, help me out, figure out what's going on. And it turns out I had forgotten to break off one of the tabs on the things. Anyway, solved that problem. It worked great for that. Three-way switches, not so much. Yeah. So anyway, any of you people out there, if you like three-way switches, hit me up. But we're not here to talk about three-way switches.
You'll have to wait for GPT 5.3 to come out.
Correct. So here's the first thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about what models we're using. So let me just say also, it's sort of like one of those, I feel like, I can't remember the exact phrase, but it's sort of like a little bit and then all at once. It's kind of what it feels like AI has been for me, and sounds like for you too, because it was like, what the heck? I have never heard that beep before. I never heard that beep before. I don't know. I don't know what that beep was.
That's the house is telling you, stop playing with the electrical and get someone in here who knows what they're doing.
Literally, I've never heard that beep before in my life. I don't know what that was. No idea. Anyway, okay. It was like I was sort of dabbling. I was using the chat interfaces to talk with the AIs, right? Yeah. All great. Use it for three-way switches and stuff like that, right? But if I wanted to do actual code stuff, I was like sort of copying and pasting, and like it just wasn't a great experience. It was okay, it worked, but it was just not wonderful, right? And then I installed Claude Code, and my mind was blown. Was that your experience as well? Something like that?
Yeah. So over the
I didn't install it until version 4.5, until Opus 4.5 was out. So like I felt like I was just like immediately like all in, like this is amazing. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, over the holiday break, I finally sat down and I bought like a whole bunch of Home Assist, a whole bunch of, what are they called? Zigbee temperature sensors.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we had a new air conditioner put in a few months ago, and there was the option to buy its like first party temperature sensors. And not that it can control the temperature per room, but it uses the temperature sensors to determine whether it needs to increase or decrease airflow.
Sure.
And then open and close the actuators. And they were like $130 per temperature sensor to hook into this thing.
You're like, forget that.
And so I bought 10 of them, I think, to go into every room where we've got a dedicated zone. And then I went to
did you pull the trigger on the 130 a piece?
No. I bought the Zigbee ones, which were
gotcha,
like
yes. All right.
$200 for 10 or something like that.
Sure. Okay.
Because I had Home Assistant running and I wasn't really using it for anything. So I thought, okay, GPT, can you help me to build automation in Home Assistant to read the sensors to determine when you should open a vent or a zone or close a zone? You don't mess with ones where the zone is turned off. We do some stuff. We thought through this process that our master bedroom was the hottest room in the house because it's western facing, it gets the afternoon sun. Turns out it is my study that is the hottest room in the house by like 1.5 degrees. Okay. Because when the house was built, we insulated this room because this used to be my drum room. And so once it heats up, it stays heated. And so, but I had built all of this automation in there, like the master bedroom's the hot one. We need to like determine in the afternoon whether or not we need to pre-cool it to, get the airflow going earlier before the sun hits, because it's easier to cool a cool room than it is to like cool down a hot room.
Of course.
And so, did all of this just in GPT, and then it was generating YAML, and I was copy pasting the YAML into Home Assistant and then doing that. Nice. And then eventually we needed, eventually get to a point when you have to refactor. And even when it's just YAML, you still have to refactor it. You want to simplify some things. I wanted to see why it was or wasn't doing stuff. And the way that it was initially set up, it was like duplicating all of this logic. So we changed it to basically give you a reason, and then whether or not it did something was based on if that reason was like no blockers kind of thing. And then
at this point, you're still copying and pasting?
I'm still copying and pasting, yeah. Okay. And I'm trying to figure out the best way, because it started to get so much YAML that it was like syntax highlighting this, and the tab with the chat just kept on crawling. But I was too scared to start a new chat lest it lose all of the history and
all the context
of that first thing. So I'm like, okay, just give me like snippets, give me patches, diffs, and I'll just copy and paste them. And then that became difficult. So I thought, okay, this is where we're going to...
Now you've got to go. Yep, you've got to make the decision.
This is where we go, okay, we're going to put this into a Git repo.
Yep.
We're going to bust out OpenCode, and we're going to use their free whatever models.
Okay, so now real quick. So I think this is important, right? So for me, there was some confusion around some of these things. So I just want to be like crystal clear. For those of you who have not made the jump yet, we're gonna try and do our best to define some things here. Okay, so we have models. Let's call the providers. Let's talk about some providers real quick. So OpenAI is the creator of the GPT models, which we all know, ChatGPT. They, I think, were the first ones to popularize, the chat interface that you can use with their GPT models. So ChatGPT, everybody uses chat, right? So that is OpenAI. There's also Anthropic, which is now pushing commercials for their models, which are Claude, right? And with Claude, you have a couple of different flavors of models. You have Sonnet and you have Opus. And Sonnet is less, it's more, it's a faster model. It has less parameters, but so it returns values faster. But Opus is more of like a deep think model. It'll take a little bit longer, but it's also much more comprehensive. Okay, so those are your providers and your models. Then what we're talking about is we've said, like, we were just pasting things into an interface in chat, whatever, fine, fair enough. A lot of these providers have their own chat interfaces to interact with their models. However, what Michael's talking about now, OpenCode is what? Tell me about OpenCode.
So OpenCode is like a multi-provider version of, if you've used Claude, it's a command line interface that you go in and you have access to the models, and it does things to your code on your computer, or you can tell it, do whatever. OpenCode is similar in vein. There is a distinction. Claude is a command line interface, and it's like just doing and repainting things in your terminal, whereas OpenCode is a terminal user interface, a TUI, where it's doing much more modern things in a way that it's like able to render pretty interfaces and scrolling and colors support and all this other stuff, command palettes, notifications, etc., etc. But the main difference, Claude locks you to the Anthropic models. You can only use what is provided by Anthropic.
Right.
OpenCode is multimodal,
And you have to have a subscription.
provider.
You have to have a
Yes,
subscription
you've got
to
to have
do
a
the
subscription
Claude stuff.
to that.
Yes, to Claude.
So with
yeah. Sorry.
OpenCode, they host some models themselves that, depending on what plan you're on, there are some free ones. There are some part of their Zen plan. They just launched a few weeks ago their Black plan, which is more similar to what you'd be familiar with, Claude Pro, Claude Max. But they allow you to bring your own keys and use any provider, and they support OpenAI. They support Anthropic to some degree. There was a bit of hubbub about that over the
Anthropic
break.
sort of shut that down a little bit. Yeah.
Yep. They support GitHub Copilot. They support ZAI is another one I tried. There's Minimax. There's a list of, I think, probably 30 or 40 different providers that you can bring your own keys, and they basically just act as an interface, and they give you a much nicer interface to your models. And the best bit about it is that you can switch between models from the same interface. So you might find that Opus is the best for reasoning and for code, but you might find that GPT is better for general house things. You might find that Minimax is better for one thing. That all these different models are suited for different purposes, and it kind of allows you to wield them quite easily.
And you can also use it with like local LLMs, right? Using Ollama
and
things
Ollama,
like that, right?
Yep.
And so to be clear, we're going to talk about this real quick. So Ollama, what is Ollama, right? So most of the models that we're talking about are hosted for you. So Claude is hosted, ChatGPT or the GPT models are hosted, right? Copilot is hosted, but you can run your own large language models on your own hardware if you'd like to. So Ollama gives you the ability to do that. You download a model and then you run it on your machine. And then you can use something like OpenCode to point to any of these hosted models if you'd like to, or to your local model. So if you're very concerned with, or if your company is very concerned with making sure that everything stays local and does not ever get leaked out, that might be an option for you as well. So running your own stuff on Ollama. Also, if you need more firepower than what your machine can give you, we actually just bought at work a NVIDIA DGX Spark, which is pretty freaking sick. So it's like a $3,000, $4,000 machine, which has got like 128 gigabyte NVIDIA GPU in it, and just ships with like Ubuntu on it. So you just set it up, and then you plug it in, and away you go. You SSH into the box, and then you can run Ollama on there. You can put any of the models that you want on there. I think you can run all the big ones as well. And so you can use that as a way to not necessarily run it on your hardware on the same machine, but on like a piece of hardware that's sitting next to your machine, right? So that's an option as well. So, if your company is really interested in investing in the AI thing, but they have things with they have agreements maybe that says we can't do this. So they're like, well, AI is off the table. It's not off the table. You just have to be creative, right? So this NVIDIA DGX Spark is another option that you could use to allow yourselves to use AI, and you can use something like OpenCode to only push things to that thing. So that's an option as well, which has been interesting. Sorry, go ahead. So you're using OpenCode. You've got all these different models and stuff. So what's the journey been like for you? What have you been building?
So just before we move on as well, OpenCode gives you access to different providers and different models. Different providers can also offer the same model. So obviously Anthropic owns Claude and the Claude models. So it's going to want you to use Claude. But there are other providers out there. For example, GitHub Copilot does give you access to obviously their compute, but also to the Claude models, to different models that way. There's AMP Code, which gives you access to Opus and Sonnet and things like that through there.
Tell me about that real quick. I don't know what that is. Can you explain that to me a little bit? I don't know what that means.
No, I can't, because I started using it 3 days ago. I'll tell you what I did use it for. It was Aaron Francis who said, get AMP Code. They give you $10 free per day or something, and use its Oracle. And so what I did, which we'll probably touch on in a little bit, is I built this application in Go. I've never written a line of Go in my life. It's simple enough a language to read, but I used the Minimax model to build this out. And then I opened AMP and I said, hey, AMP, this is what I've built. Go and look at the code and tell me, is this idiomatic Go? And use your Oracle. And the Oracle is AMP's whatever. It's an Oracle. and it went and looked at the code that was built, and it gave me a plan effectively. These are the things that you can change to make this more idiomatic Go, to make it leverage some things. Over time, you're building this, and then you build this, and then you build this, and then even as you know, chisel and stone developers, old people like us, we would build feature A, feature B, feature C, and then you would look at that and then go and, okay, where are the abstractions, where are the things that I can hoist up? So AMP kind of did that, and then I took that plan and fed it back into the Minimax model in OpenCode to then go and implement it. So the crux of the thing, I think, is fairly, there's two main ways of doing this now, three main ways. You can vibe it, where you just like whatever the code is generated, I'm just going to use whatever's generated. There's this notion of routing, where you kind of just give it a plan and you give it a list of tasks, and you just run it literally in a bash loop, and it will just pick the next thing off that it thinks it should work on. It'll have its acceptance criteria, tests, static analysis, whatever you want to do, and it will just keep running that loop until it's run out of things to do. And then there's the thing that I've settled on that I think most proper quote unquote software engineers would do, and that is to plan out your feature. Get this document. It's literally a markdown document that you can put into your application, version control, store on your computer, whatever, and tell Claude, OpenCode, whatever, go read this and implement it exactly. And so I would spend 30, 40 minutes coming up with a plan, looking at it, deciding these are the files I want to create. This is the folder structure I want. These are the things I do and don't want to do, et cetera, et cetera. So you can use this plan mode, and then you can use different models. So, we use Opus for planning at work because it's, more of a thinking model. It's able to find its way through things. Once you come up with the plan, save it, start a new session, switch over to build mode, use Sonnet because it's quicker. It doesn't need to think about what it's doing. It just needs to execute the plan. So it reads the plan and it goes, yep, no worries, knock tasks off until it's done. So, it's been a very interesting month or so. It took some time over Christmas and the New Year.
Can I interject one question or one thing real quick?
Go.
The reason why you might want to switch between models is because it's more expensive to use certain models, right? So something like a deep think model like Opus requires more tokens. And so you can exhaust those tokens much faster if you're using Opus for everything. Whereas if you're just using it for the planning mode and then use Sonnet for the execution, that's fine too. If you're on the max plan, like $200 plan, maybe it doesn't really matter. Maybe you just use Opus for everything, right?
Yeah.
If you're a little bit more selective, you can save yourself some tokens that way. And one other thing, which is that the big difference between these things and sort of using the chat window feature is that these have access to do things on your behalf, but also they have the entire context of the repository at their fingertips, right? So instead of having to paste the context, you can just say, hey, over in this class here, I'm seeing this sort of thing. I don't really like how we're doing this. Instead of doing this, can we use like Laravel's upsert method and, inspect all the other places where we're using the suspend system and just get rid of those. I don't need those anymore if we use this upsert. And it'll just say like, yep, let me take a look. And it'll go through everything. And sometimes it'll even be like, here's the plan. When you go to execute it, it'll say things like, do you mind if I execute a artisan migrate or like a PHP artisan make command to make this migration? So it'll ask like, yes, yeah, you can do that and don't bother asking again for this session, whatever. So it's doing things on your behalf. That's the big, the context, all the context that it has, that's what makes it just super powerful. Super powerful. And one other thing, which we can talk about, which is MCPs, right? So this was a big one that was really helpful for me is on the thing that I was building. I ended up having, previously I had a designer friend that I had worked with that had built some screenshots for me in Figma for how this should look. So I described the feature and basically the whole application to Claude, wrote up like a page of like instructions and said, make a plan, made a plan, executed the plan, had a great MVP, but it didn't look anything like what I wanted it to. So I said, let's install the Figma MCP, installed it, authenticated with it, copied the link to the particular design, and I said, I want it to look like this. And it said, yep, sure, no problem. You good with me executing this? Yes. And it was like, okay. And it started downloading screenshots. It started downloading logos, placing in my asset files, and then started matching screenshot or colors, offered to do fonts, Tailwind. Can I configure your Tailwind config? Yes. Boom. Done. Freaking amazing, right? That is wild. That is the stuff that's just like so insane.
one of my colleagues, so we use ClickUp at work for project management, and we use Figma for design. So one of my engineering colleagues hooked up his Claude to talk to ClickUp and to talk to Figma, and all of our application is using the MUI framework for design
MUI,
components and things
MUI.
like that. Yeah, MUI. Yep. And so basically, what he said was go and look in ClickUp and get all of the requirements for this ticket. We then have a link to the Figma. It will then go into Figma, find the components it needs to build. And because we're using MUI components in Figma and we're using MUI components in our React front end, it was able to just snap everything together from the ticket via Figma into actual React code. And so this is, where we're at now, getting things that are basically built. And it's an interesting time to be alive, because most of your time now is like the other day I spent 30, 40 minutes prompting out a plan to implement something. I was going to go for a walk to go and get some lunch. I'm like, all right, I spent 40 minutes planning this. Will probably take 10, 15 to get going. This damn thing was finished implementing my plan before I had finished putting my shoes on. And you may not know this about me, but I do not have laces on my shoes. I've got slip-ins usually that I wear during the day.
You wear Kizik's? You got Kizik's?
Skechers. I got Skechers.
Oh, okay.
Skechers slip-ins. So I didn't even get a chance to put my slip-ins on before this damn thing, after 40 minutes of refining a plan, had finished implementing. So it is a wild time, but it's just funny. Over Christmas and New Year, we had this workshop at the end of last year at work where we talked about what AI meant in our business and how we wanted to use it and what we did and didn't want to do and what tools we couldn't use because of compliance. With finance, so there's compliance things in there. So here's a set of tools that have passed our vendor onboarding and all that kind of stuff that we're allowed to use. And so I'm on the computer all day at work. It gets to the end of the day, I don't want to look at the computer again until the next day. So during the break, where it was like family stuff, kids stuff, relaxing, when I had some time in the evenings, I was more inclined to want to touch the computer. And I was like, well, now is as good a time as any to do this. So I started with this home assistant thing, and that just blew my mind what it could do. And I thought, okay, what's the next thing we can do? So I built like a small SaaS. I did a Laravel new with a Livewire project. I said, okay, I have 140 open tabs on my phone for articles that I'm never going to read later. What I want to do, what I do all the time, is I listen to podcasts, right? When I walk, when I run, when I'm doing stuff around the house, podcasts. I say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to build this little micro SaaS for myself where I will give it a link. It will go and fetch the link. It will summarize it just, to see, okay, what is this all about? It will then generate speech. So it's not going to read word for word what was written, but it's going, because, people have lists, people have code, people have parentheticals, all of this kind of stuff. So it will generate speech, and then it will generate an audio file, and it will put it into a podcast feed so that it lands on my phone, and then I don't even have to think about it. I can just listen to this article. So I built that like 4 hours one day, start to finish, done. Right. Never would have built that myself. Something I've always wanted, but nothing that I'm going to spend, days to weeks building myself. I built this thing we used it for Laravel News. I said to you when we recorded the Laravel News podcast, I don't want to go through the last 2 weeks of articles and find the articles and generate the markdown and put it into Notion. And so I initially, like the quote unquote MVP was just asking GPT, hey, go and fetch all of the articles from the last 2 weeks from the Laravel News website, give me a list. And I just copy pasted that into Notion. I thought, oh, we're onto something here.
Yeah.
So I built out this little thing that for Laravel News, I just say, go and find me all of the articles that were published between date X, date Y, classify it as releases, news, tutorials, packages, generate the PDF, generate the show notes. Okay, we've recorded the episode. We've got the markers in the video file for YouTube. Go and match up the markers with the original thing. Put together the show notes that we can put into Transistor, into YouTube. Go and generate the transcription. Generate me the chapter markers, all of that kind of stuff. That's done. So now the only time spent on the Laravel News podcast is you and I recording it and then me editing it, which is really these days, because we've been doing it for donkey's years, is just putting the chapter markers in there. very low touch editing. I put chapter markers in, I put titles into the video, and that's it. And so another thing done. I built this thing in Go. I've never written Go before. I read it.
Right.
I'm like, that looks like it's doing what I want it to do. It's just, and like I've been hammering it at work. The work days only last 5 hours now, because that's what your Claude limit is, if you can stretch it for 5 hours. So. No, I kid.
Yeah, that's how long until your tokens wear out, right? You have to get 5 hours until it runs
we were on the
again.
API plan, and there's 6 of us. There's still a couple of guys on leave at the moment, so there's 6 of us just hammering this API plan and just burning through tokens. So we finally got onto the team plan now, and it's like, okay, you got 5 hours, use it wisely, kind of thing. So it has definitely been productive. It has, like, I had to do something with Scramble yesterday where we've got Sparkie enums in our resources, but it doesn't read them properly. And we had to try and figure out, well, how do we get the values from a Sparkie enum to render in the same way that native enums render in those Scramble docs? And, off it went digging through the vendor code. It went figuring out, okay, I need to write this. I need to, hook into Scramble over here. I need to register the extension. I would have spent a day on that probably myself figuring out. I said, I don't want to do that. All of this stuff, we're just delegating and shipping stuff.
Yeah, it opens so many doors. And so, like, I just read this article called Perfect Software, right? It's this idea of software for an audience of one, right? And so the idea is that you don't have to buy something off the shelf anymore that is like cooked up in Silicon Valley. Instead, you can say, like this guy did, he's like, I want to have, like, I enjoy reading text that is justified, like left to right justified, like that's what they are.
Yeah, text.
And he's like, so I just basically said, hey, build a Chrome plugin that justifies text with one click on a website. Done. Built it. Of course. I mean, like, of course it could build that. Installed the plugin, and he's done. Doesn't have to go find it. Doesn't have to worry about, like, it's selling his data, whatever. It's just, it's done. It's installed, and he can use it. So cool. Like, exactly the things that you're talking about. It's like, I want to be able to do this X, and all I have to do is prompt it. It's so awesome. So it's like, you don't have to be like a 10x developer anymore. It used to be so jealous of these guys who had this time to just kind of, I want to, Nuno Maduro, like, oh, I don't like the link sharing services that are out there. I'm going to build Pyre, right? It's like, man, it would be so cool to just be able to have the time. Like, we all have the time now to do that. You don't have to, like, you can be a 1x engineer and just an itch to solve a problem, right? And that's it. That's all you, and in your LLM, and you're good to go. And it's really, it's just like, it feels like you're tinkering again. It feels like you're playing with code again. It's like, I was talking to Andy.
I've had some late nights the last few weeks.
I was up to 2. I was up to 2 the other night doing this.
Just because it's like, oh, I'm going to spend 3 or 4 hours on this, but it'll be done. Before it was like
done. Something that would have taken
3 or 4
forever.
hours on it. Yeah, I would spend 3 or 4 hours on it before, and I would be tired, and I would be angry at the computer because when you get tired, it's this missing a semicolon or calling the wrong method or something. You just don't even realize it.
Or even like, I don't want to look at the documentation. I just want to like, I know what I need. I know what the words are that I need to do. I just don't have to go look at the documentation to do it manually.
We have this iPad. I had this iPad in the kitchen, and we had this like little dashboard on it, and I used to have it so we could see the current power price, to determine, should I put the car into charge? Should I run the air conditioner? Should I do the dishwasher? Whatever else. And then this was another thing. I was like, I want to do this up a little bit. We've got a new solar system put in. We've got new battery put in. We need to change it over. So I said, hey, AI, go and do that, rebuild it, change it up. And so typically we'd have just the calendar on this iPad. And I'm like, no, I want to see this power dashboard. And Rhea would be like, but I need to see what's on for tomorrow. So I said, hey, AI, go and hook into iCal. Go and look at our iCloud calendars, put them all on there, show us everything that's today. When there's nothing for today, show us what's tomorrow. Rhea no longer switches to the calendar. And she mocked me initially. She's like, I can't believe you're doing this, like this AI thing, whatever. Then she comes to me and she goes, hey, can you put tomorrow's weather on there? Yeah, done. 30 seconds later, weather's there, done, no problem. So she mocks me, but there's just utility. And, for me to figure out how to get the weather in there and, not something that I couldn't do, something that I probably couldn't do in 30 minutes,
Right.
Go and find the weather service, find the API, figure out, doesn't matter. The AI can just do it.
Yeah. And it's actually been a little bit scary because there's been a couple of things where I would talk to one of my developers and be like, hey, I need to do this thing. Be like, okay, I'm heading out for a doctor's appointment. Can I work on it tomorrow morning? Yeah, sure. He's like, just write it up for me. cool. Well, I'm actually just going to write it up for the LLM. And I
Yeah, I'm
did.
going to
And I
spend the
had
time writing it up.
two literally, and I wrote it up and exactly what I would have written for him. I wrote for the LLM, except for a little bit sloppier, and pasted it in. And it was like I had two different versions of like experiments that I had thought about the day before, and was able to basically get feedback from the team. Which one do we prefer? Okay,
Mm.
throw the other one away. I spent 10 minutes on it. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's so
Yeah.
cool. Another cool strategy, which I've seen some people do, is they basically, so Jordan Brill actually on our team said, do not do anything on the back end. Like he instructed the LM, do not do anything like back end related. I'm just interested in front end exploration here. Here are the challenges I'm having. Build me a front end sort of like mock up, but don't worry about actually persisting any of these things in databases,
Yeah.
whatever. Unbelievable what it was able to generate for him. And again, it's just throwaway. If you don't like it, don't worry about it.
Mm.
Like chuck it.
Mm.
Doesn't matter. Like you've spent no time on it. Like you've spent
Yeah.
some tokens and that's it.
Yeah.
And so it's just great for doing explorations to sort of say like, do we like this? Do we not? Oh, that gives us some good ideas. Let's kind of move that direction. We don't really need like, if we do need that part, how would we structure that in the back end? We should adjust that this way, so like it just allows you to sort of experiment, kind of go down the road a little bit. Before, I felt like I would have had to have much more justification to try something out because you're basically committing a day to it, like one of your developers' days to it. So you kind of would waffle back and forth and like, which approach is going to be the best? I don't know. Now you literally just try both. Try them both. Let's see which one we like better. I actually like that one better. Let's go with that. And so really cool.
With the advent and the robustness now and the power of these tools, coupled with the power of Git work trees, let's
talk about Git work trees.
You can have, you said you had two different approaches. Why not three approaches?
Yeah.
Why not the same two approaches with four different models?
Yeah.
So work trees then allow you to create a branch and a working environment for each of these things. So previously you would have just cloned down the same repository 4 times. Well, now you can clone down the repository once with your work trees and have 4 work trees all working on like feature A1, feature A2, feature A3, feature A4. Okay, we're gonna
can we pause for a second to talk about this?
Sure.
Like what a Git work tree is. So like I think we all know like a Git repository you pull down, right? But the limitation with a Git repository is that you can only be working on one branch at a time, right? If you're on a branch and you have something in your working directory and you need to like, an emergency bug comes in, you have to like either commit or you have to get stash and then you have to switch back to master, pull down master, and make a new branch and do all that stuff. And it's like you can only have one thing working at a time. That's challenging, especially if you want to have 2 different things going on at the same time on your own machine. How do you do that? So what you said is the solution used to be, just clone down multiple things and then kind of you'd get CD into each directory and do it that way. Work trees are the solution to this, and they are baked straight into Git. This is not a like extra feature. This is a Git thing. So go ahead. Like a Git tree then is what? Or work tree?
Yeah, a work tree is just basically a directory that points to some branch in your repository. And you can have multiple work trees all pointing at the same branch if you really wanted to. I probably wouldn't do it at the same time, but 4 branches, 4 work trees. And like I said, you could have Opus working on one, you could have GBT working on one, you could have Sonnet working on one, and you could Minimax, GLM, whatever, pick another of the models. Here is the same plan for all 4 of you. Go implement. And you've got 4 agents, 4 models, all working on the same thing. Look, pick which one you like. Pick which is the one you want to have in there, and they all do it. So, I'd been using them for years and years because I was often reviewing other people's code, looking at other things. So if I was working on something, and I would have to stop because I wanted to pull down a PR to look at it locally, because sometimes, most of the time, it's not great to just look at it in the GitHub UI. You want to pull the code down, feel around, click around, see what it is. You'd have to, do a whip commit, stash your changes, change branches, come back to it, half a day later, forgetting, and I forget about the stash. Where'd that code go? I don't know. It must be lost somewhere. The work tree solved that problem because you can just have everything and just switch directories and do all that. So I built, this little Go thing that I built, which doesn't, like, it wraps over the top of Git work trees and just gives you like a nice UI, nice interface to then create work trees, spin up new projects, work and move between all of these different things in a simpler way, with the like idea in my head that you could say, hey, tell your AI model, go and create a new work tree and go and explore this plan in that directory. And off it goes and does its thing. So it was I saw OpenCode has built this functionality into, I think, their GUI. I don't know if it's in their command line version at the moment, but I saw a video. I literally finished exporting the video that I published on Twitter, and I saw that the OpenCode guys had posted a video saying they've got workspaces in OpenCode now. So
Work
it was
trees
more
in OpenCode, it'll do it in there.
Yeah, workspaces. I think they're calling it, because then they're saying, your workspace may not necessarily be a Git work tree. It could be like a Docker environment or something.
Sure.
Remote service or whatever. But it was more an exploration in how do I use these tools to craft something where I'm not the expert in the language. Putting myself in the shoes of like, I know how to develop software. How would I apply this to build something that I would never build myself? Which was an interesting experience. I learned a lot. Having one model build it and then having another model come through and review it and say, this is not the way to do it. I would do it this other way. Creating a plan and then bouncing, and then you learn, which models are good for which things. I mean, you could, if you wanted to burn all your tokens and all of the trees in the world, use Opus and just only use Opus for everything.
That's what I do.
Great. But Opus, and this is where yes, you can do that, but it's more expensive in terms of like consumption of tokens. So you use the smart models, the reasoning, the thinking, whatever models you want to call them, to come up with the plans, because they will think about the edge cases. You'd say, what have I missed here? What do you think I should explore? Is this a good idea? Yada, yada, yada. And then once the plan is written, you get it to write it to a markdown file. You start a new session and you say, okay, let's switch to Sonnet or Minimax or GLM or whatever, GPT, whatever. Here's the plan, read it. It may have other questions. Ask me, if you think there's anything missing, and then off you go. And then, so where, let's say an Opus token counts for one token is $1. Well, a Sonnet token, for example, is 50 cents. So you could do twice as many tokens with your Sonnet model than you can with the Opus model. But when it doesn't have to think or determine, do I want A or B? Do I want to create this file or that file? No, it's just executing the plan that you've already written. So there's no thinking involved. It's got fresh context. It can just burn through it. Takes a couple of minutes. You all know this because you've all been using AI for 6, 12 months, whatever already. I'm late to the game. I'm as excited as you were. I'm sorry that I missed this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, honestly, I feel like
it's only come along in the last 2 months or so, though. Like since Opus came out, which was I think October, November last year. Like that's where we saw this real shift. And the start of this year where we started to see a little bit of fallout from all of the changes come to a head, I think. So
yeah, I read an article the other day, and I'm trying to find it right now, but it was essentially, a year ago, people were saying like, oh, it's gonna, replace all these jobs of mid-level developers, and it was like, not a chance. And I read an article the other day where like after Opus 4.5 was released, they're like, nope, that's actually true. That's actually true now. It could. I don't think it's going to replace jobs. I think it's just going to, people who don't know how to use AI are going to be outpaced by those who do. And so there'll still be there'll still be a human at the wheel a lot of times, right? If you're using it responsibly and want to maintain a code base that actually is going to live for longer than a year, right? You're going to have to sort of be intelligent about how you're using it. But I mean, I've already seen this in our own organization. It's like, one of our guys was just like flat. I'm like, what is he doing? Well, yeah, he's using a lot of tooling, and it's not that he was being lazy. He's literally just being efficient, just ripping through this stuff. So big shout out on our team. Honestly, Andy Hinkle is the dude who's been pushing this so hard. Like, hey, you guys got to start using this stuff. And so really, really neat. And he's actually doing some, we should have him on the show sometime. He's building some of our own models, like to, like I was talking about, like on code stuff, no big deal. Like we're not actually handling any private information, but when we start dealing with actual data, that's where you got to be careful. And that's why we have that DGX is like, we're pushing stuff to that because that's internal, not going anywhere. And we're actually he's training some of our own models on some of this data, which is really exciting, super cool stuff. He understands it so much better than I do, but yeah, we should have him talk about it sometime, have him on to talk about it. And he also has been doing this really cool, he introduced me to this thing called the circuit breaker pattern today. I'd have to have him on to talk about that sometime too. But Yeah, good stuff. Really exciting. Okay, real.
Yeah, I
Go
think
ahead.
there's been a lot of doom and gloom about developers being. I think yes. I mean, I've got a friend who's built. He built like an iOS app that he sent me a test flight link for, which is just when he makes coffee, he will record the grind size, the brewing time, what it tasted like, whether he liked it, whether he didn't like it. He'll take a photo of the latte art that he did on it. This is a UX guy, no coding experience. Just this is just what people can do now. No market for it. Doesn't matter. I will use it. You know, it's always been Laravel wouldn't exist if Taylor wasn't building it for his own needs. Good things will find a market for themselves. I think we're going to see a lot more stuff come out, and we have been seeing a lot more stuff come out. I think the doom and gloom is an interesting prospect. Like Salesforce fired 4,000 people, and then I think the CEO or whatever came out a couple of days ago and was like, "Whoops, made a mistake. We actually need all those people back. AI is not quite what we thought it was." So I think there's still going to be space for people like us because people still need to understand. Yes, you can ask the LLM to just go and fix the problem, but eventually, any of us that have used it, that have just like built without thought, you will find yourself in a hole. And so there's still going to be a market for us to kind of do that kind of work. But as developers, I think we always found ways to optimize our job. You know, for years, I've been given, do this task, do this data entry, we need to ingest this, whatever. We write scripts to do that. Like this is the next evolution of writing a script to do that so that we can focus on less on the boilerplate, the boring stuff, all these conversations that have been had over and over again, and again, I know I'm late to this and I know I was a naysayer, but I've caught up. All right. We're here. We're ready to go.
And
this will
it's
not
awesome.
turn into the
I'm
AI podcast though, but it's just, I think given that we took the plunge, both of us kind of at the same time separately, but together, we took the plunge. Okay. We were late, but I think we're there now. So
yeah, I mean, I've always been a late adopter. Honestly, I don't feel like it's killed me. I feel like, I can't say I've always been a late adopter, but it's like specifically with these things, it's just we've got a lot of stuff that we need to actually get done. And so if there's something that's a flash in the pan new thing, like I'm probably going to wait for a bit to kind of jump on board with it, right? And in this case, I don't really think I missed much. I think we got on about at the time where it's like it's reaching really good productivity levels. So. And it's like I missed sort of the experimentation phase of a lot of things and let some other folks figure that out. And now it's like, yep, I can jump right in and be very productive. All the tooling is already built out. All the MCP stuff for Laravel is built out, all done, and all the bugs and kinks are worked out. Like it's a really great time to jump in. So if you have not done so yet, try it out. Suggestions for if you're just getting started. I think that if you want to just dip your toe in, I think OpenCode is a really good one to just get started with. Just try it. You can use some of their hosted models or, like you said, AMP has some free stuff. So find one that's free and just try it out and see if you like it. If you do, I think that you should try Opus. I think you should get it's a $20 a month plan. So $20. Try it out. You're going to eat all your tokens right away at first because you're not going to know what you're doing and you're just going to exhaust them. You'll figure out how to switch between models, between Sonnet and Opus and all that stuff using Claude Code on your desktop. But you're going to be able to create some pretty crazy stuff pretty quick and you're going to realize the power of it very fast. So if it's a $20 investment, try it. It's really, really worth it. And it's not bad. It's not bad to install it and get it going. It's pretty simple. So yeah, the learning curve is just, there isn't one anymore. It's very simple. It's like, if you can install anything from Homebrew, you can install Claude Code and get going. So well worth the time, folks. Jump in. It's good stuff. All right. I was going to say one more thing about sort of what I built with mine. So I had a friend who was asking me to help with a project. I had committed to it. This is the one I was talking about. And I was supposed to meet with him like the next day to sort of show this project off. I had all the designs, I had all the concepts, but I hadn't even started building it at all. Like, that's why it was like, okay, started at like 8 o'clock and I had it done by like midnight, like completely done, front end, back end, saving to the database, doing local storage stuff on the front end, validation, view, I don't even write Vue stuff, but it was all
No.
like single Vue component. So it was really snappy. Unbelievable. And that was my first time using it in a 3-hour span. And I was like, sold, done, never looking back. And I immediately bought, like, I was on the $100 plan by the end of the night. I was like, I'm in. So crazy. So crazy. So
the interesting thing is it's possible, and I wonder how far the pendulum will swing to like everyone can build whatever they think of. Because like lots of people build stuff now and find no users. So yes, this is going to enable people to build anything that they dream of. That doesn't mean that it solves all the other problems, marketing, finding a customer base, people to use your thing. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe you're just building 20, 30 things for yourself to solve, miscellaneous little problems. But it'd be interesting to watch the pendulum swing. 2026 will be an interesting year, I think.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, hey, let's wrap it up there. Episode 185. Is that what you said?
Yep.
Yeah, 185. Find show notes for this episode at northmeetsouth.audio/185. Hit us up on Twitter, on X, at Jacob Bennett, Michael Drinda, at North South Audio. I think so. That's it, everybody. Rate us up 5 stars in your podcatcher of choice. Loving this stuff, man. Loving it.
Right.
It's fun again. It gives me autonomy.
Seriously.
I don't have to ask everybody to do stuff for me, like, because I don't have time to do it. I literally just ask my agent to do it, and it's done.
Yeah.
So fun.
Here's a proof of concept.
I'll stop.
Go deal with it. But yeah, it's good.
Exactly. All right, everybody. Sounds good. We'll see you next time. Peace.